Know your place, boy. Officer Reeves's hand cracks across the black man's face, echoing through the stunned courtroom. Blood rushes to the slap mark on the man's cheek. Officer Reeves towers over him, sunglasses hiding cold eyes, coffee steam rising between them. "Defense table is for real lawyers, not janitors," he sneers, sweeping the man's briefcase off the table. Papers explode across the floor, legal documents, court files. A family photo skids under a bench. The man's fingers tremble slightly. He takes one deep breath. "Pick that shit up," Reeves commands, voice dropping dangerously low. "Now." The gallery watches, frozen. The bailiff's hand hovers near his radio. The court clerk covers her mouth. The black man rises slowly, straightens his tie, and walks not to the gallery but directly toward the judge's bench. Every eye follows him as he climbs the steps and reaches for the judge's gavel. Officer James Reeves strides through the courthouse security checkpoint without breaking pace. His badge parts the crowd like a shark fin through water. 20 years on the force has earned him a swagger that demands respect. The marble hallway amplifies his footsteps. Morning sunlight slants through tall windows, illuminating dust particles dancing in the air. Reeves nods to fellow officers who return the gesture with practiced deference. His arrest record speaks volumes highest in the precinct for 3 years running. Checking his watch, Reeves notes he has 30 minutes before testifying. Plenty of time. He spots District Attorney Sarah Miller by the coffee cart, reviewing notes from a leather portfolio. "Morning, Sarah," he calls, grabbing coffee without paying. "Ready to lock up another dealer?" Miller's professional smile tightens. "It's possession, not distribution, James." And Judge Thompson is presiding. "Thompson?" Reeves sips his coffee. "Never heard of him." Transferred from Eastern Circuit last month. Has a reputation for being... She chooses her words carefully. "Extremely thorough with police testimony." Reeves scoffs. "As long as he knows which end of the gavel to use, we're good." "My testimony is bulletproof." "Just keep it professional," Miller warns, voice dropping. He doesn't appreciate theatrics. Meanwhile, in a private corridor, Judge William Thompson reviews case files with focused intensity. 52 years old, salt and pepper hair cropped close, reading glasses perched on his nose. 20 years as a prosecutor before accepting a judgeship 5 years ago. Recently transferred to this district following reports of discriminatory policing practices. Thompson closes the folder and removes his glasses. He straightens his simple, well-tailored suit, no judicial robes yet, and heads toward courtroom 7B through the public entrance. A deliberate choice. He prefers witnessing how court personnel interact with ordinary citizens before they recognize his authority. His colleagues call it his civilian walkthrough. The bailiff barely glances up as Thompson enters. 2 uniformed officers by the door snicker as he passes. Thompson doesn't catch their words, but their dismissive glances follow him as he approaches the defense table to set down his briefcase. Thompson makes a mental note about the officer's behavior, unaware that Reeves has just spotted him. Reeves watches the black man at the defense table with growing irritation. Something about the stranger's confident posture feels wrong. His clothes are decent quality but understated, certainly not the flashy suit of a high-priced defense attorney. Probably some paralegal or public defender who doesn't know his place. "Court starts in 15, Reeves announces loudly, walking toward the defense table. "Defendant's table should be clear for the attorneys." Thompson doesn't look up from his papers. "I'm aware of the schedule, thank you." Reeves stops directly in front of the table, casting his shadow across Thompson's documents. "You're not hearing me. This area is for authorized personnel only." Thompson finally meets Reeves's gaze. "I am authorized to be here." The officer's face hardens. "Let me see some ID, then." "I don't believe that's necessary." Sarah Miller approaches, sensing trouble. "James, we should prepare." "1 second, Sarah." Reeves interrupts, holding up a hand without looking away from Thompson. Just making sure everyone's where they should be. He turns back to Thompson. Last chance, buddy. Move to the gallery or show me credentials. Thompson stands, matching Reeves's height. Officer, I suggest you focus on your testimony rather than courtroom seating arrangements. How do you know I'm an officer? Reeves's hand instinctively moves toward his holster. Your badge is visible, and you carry yourself with the unfortunate arrogance I've seen in many officers. Thompson replies evenly. Sarah inhales sharply. James, let's go. Now. Reeves ignores her, stepping closer until barely inches separate him from Thompson. You got something against law enforcement, friend? Thompson doesn't back away. I have something against anyone who misuses authority. The air between them crackles with tension. Other people entering the courtroom slow their pace, sensing the confrontation. The court clerk enters, notices the standoff, and quickly exits, whispering urgently to the bailiff outside. You know what? I don't have time for this, Reeves says, reaching for Thompson's briefcase. Reeves grabs Thompson's briefcase, yanking it across the table. The latch fails. Papers explode outward legal briefs, case notes, a family photo in a simple frame. James, Sarah hisses, mortified. Stop this right now. Thompson remains eerily calm. Officer, you're interfering with court documents. Court documents? Reeves scoffs, using his foot to spread the fallen papers. And I'm the Attorney General. He kicks the family photo, sending it skidding beneath a bench. The courtroom doors open wider as attorneys and spectators file in. The normal pre-court chatter dies instantly. They freeze in place, witnessing the scene with confusion and discomfort. Pick those up, Reeves orders Thompson, pointing at the scattered papers. Thompson doesn't move. No. No. Reeves laughs incredulously. You don't get to say no to me? He steps closer, lowering his voice. I said, pick them up. The bailiff approaches hesitantly. Officer Reeves, perhaps... Stay out of this, Reeves snaps without looking away from Thompson. This man needs to learn respect for proper procedure. Thompson takes a deliberate breath. What you're doing has nothing to do with procedure. Kneel down and pick up your mess, Reeves demands, loud enough for everyone to hear. The growing crowd watches in uncomfortable silence. A woman in the back row begins recording on her phone. Thompson stands his ground. I will not. Reeves moves with sudden speed, grabbing Thompson's shoulder and pushing downward. I said kneel! Thompson resists, but Reeves applies more pressure, forcing him to one knee. Gasps echo through the courtroom. Someone mutters, Jesus Christ. There we go, Reeves says with satisfaction. Now collect your things and get out of my courtroom. Sarah Miller steps forward. James, for God's sake! What? Reeves turns to her, gesturing at Thompson. He's disrespecting the court. Just doing my job. While still on one knee, Thompson reaches slowly into his jacket pocket. Reeves instantly grabs his wrist, twisting. Hands where I can see them, the officer barks. I'm reaching for my identification, Thompson explains calmly, despite the pain evident in his expression. Sure you are. Reeves twists Thompson's arm behind his back in a practiced move. Maybe a night in lockup will improve your attitude. The bailiff finally intervenes more forcefully. Officer, I don't think... Cuff him, Reeves orders, maintaining his hold on Thompson. Obstruction of justice and resisting an officer. The bailiff hesitates, looking between Reeves and Thompson, conflict evident on his face. The courtroom has become completely silent, the kind of silence that precedes catastrophe. From the back of the courtroom, an authoritative voice cuts through the tension. What time is it, Mr. Williams? The court clerk, Mr. Williams checks his watch with a startled expression. 9:27, Your Honor. The courtroom falls silent as all eyes turn to the judicial entrance where Chief Judge Elaine Foster stands, her expression carved from stone. Her silver hair and black robes radiate authority. "Release that man immediately, officer," she commands. Reeves hesitates, but complies, stepping back from Thompson. "Judge Foster," he begins, "this individual was—" "That individual is Judge William Thompson," Foster interrupts, her voice cutting like a blade. "He's presiding over this case." The color drains from Reeves's face. Thompson rises to his feet, straightening his tie with dignified movements. Not a word. Not a glance at Reeves, just precise, controlled actions. "Your Honor," Foster addresses Thompson, "do you require a recess?" Thompson shakes his head. "That won't be necessary, Chief Judge." "Thank you." Foster nods. "Very well. I expect a full report on this incident." She exits, leaving stunned silence in her wake. Thompson walks calmly to the judge's chambers, gesturing for the bailiff to follow. 10-minute recess. Officer Reeves, remain in the courtroom. Inside the privacy of his chambers, Thompson sits behind his desk. His hands tremble slightly now that he's alone. He takes several deep breaths, centering himself. The wall clock ticks loudly in the silence. Finally, he picks up his phone. "Gerald?" "It's Will. I need you to pull some files for me." His voice remains steady despite the adrenaline still coursing through him. "Everything you can find on Officer James Reeves. Yes, from our district. Priority access." The bailiff knocks and enters. "Your Honor, are you all right?" "Should I call for—" "I'm fine, thank you," Thompson interrupts. "But I'd like you to contact Internal Affairs." Quietly. "Tell them to pull all of Officer Reeves's arrest records for the past 5 years, particularly those involving minority suspects." The bailiff nods. "Right away, sir." "And one more thing," Thompson adds. "I want courthouse security footage from today preserved. All of it." Alone again, Thompson opens his laptop and types a brief email to the Judicial Review Board. No formal complaint yet, just a notification of a potential pattern of behavior that warrants investigation. He retrieves his judicial robe from the closet, sliding it over his shoulders. The weight of the garment steadies him. In the small mirror on the wall, Thompson studies his reflection. The same face that Reeves looked at with such contempt now framed by the symbols of judicial authority. "This isn't about you, Will," he whispers to himself. "It's about everyone who couldn't fight back." He straightens his collar, makes a silent vow to remain impartial despite what happened, and walks toward the courtroom. As Thompson reaches for the door handle, his phone buzzes with a text. "Found complaints against Reeves. You're not the first." Judge Thompson returns to the courtroom, now in full judicial regalia. The atmosphere shifts instantly as he takes his seat at the bench. Officer Reeves stands uncomfortably at the prosecution table, Sarah Miller whispering urgently in his ear. "Court is now in session," Thompson announces, voice carrying clear authority. "State of Westlake versus Morris, possession with intent to distribute." He proceeds as if nothing happened, reviewing preliminary matters with the attorneys. Reeves shifts his weight repeatedly, avoiding eye contact with the bench. Sweat beads at his hairline. When it's time for testimony, Thompson looks directly at Reeves. "Officer, you're sworn to tell the truth in this courtroom. Do you understand this obligation?" Reeves clears his throat. "Yes, Your Honor. Proceed with your testimony regarding the defendant's arrest." Reeves describes finding drugs in the defendant's car during a traffic stop. His usual confidence falters under Thompson's unwavering gaze. His answers grow shorter, less certain. "You stopped the defendant's vehicle for what reason?" Thompson asks, making notes. "Broken taillight, Your Honor." "Was the dash camera operating during this stop?" Reeves hesitates. "There was an equipment malfunction that day." Thompson makes a note. "Interesting. And your body camera?" "Also malfunctioning, sir." Both cameras failed simultaneously? Thompson's tone remains neutral, but his eyes narrow slightly. The defense attorney perks up, suddenly alert. "It happens more than you'd think," Reeves replies, a hint of defiance returning to his voice. Thompson turns to the defense attorney. "Counsel, your cross-examination." The defense attorney stands, emboldened by the judge's questioning. "Officer Reeves, how many of your recent arrests involved camera malfunctions?" "Objection," Sarah Miller interjects. "Relevance?" "Goes to pattern and credibility, Your Honor," the defense counters. Thompson considers for a moment. "Overruled. The officer will answer." Reeves's jaw tightens. "I don't keep track of equipment issues." "Let me rephrase," the defense attorney continues, picking up a document. "How many of your arrests of minority suspects involved camera malfunctions?" The defendant, a young black man, watches Reeves intently from the defense table. For the first time, a flicker of hope crosses his face. "Your Honor!" Sarah Miller stands abruptly. "May we approach the bench?" At the bench, Sarah Miller speaks in hushed tones. "Judge Thompson, the defense is fishing for a racial bias angle without foundation." Thompson regards her carefully. "Miss Miller, are you suggesting that questioning the reliability of police equipment during arrests is inappropriate?" "No, Your Honor, but the implication that Officer Reeves specifically targets minorities—" "I've made no such implication," Thompson interrupts. "I'm simply allowing relevant questioning about evidence collection." Reeves joins them at the bench, uninvited. "This is a straightforward drug case being turned into a circus." Thompson's gaze shifts to Reeves. "Officer, approach when called, not before. Return to your seat." "With all due respect, Your Honor," Reeves says, not moving, "I've testified in hundreds of cases." This line of questioning is harassment. The muscle in Thompson's jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. "Officer Reeves, step back immediately or face contempt charges." Reeves holds his ground for 3 long seconds before returning to his seat, muttering under his breath. "What was that, officer?" Thompson asks. "Nothing, Your Honor." "Speak clearly for the record if you have something to add." Reeves looks directly at Thompson. "I said this feels personal, Your Honor." A ripple of whispers moves through the gallery. The court reporter's fingers pause momentarily over her keyboard. Thompson leans forward. "Justice is always personal, officer. To the accused, to the victim, and to society. What it must never be is prejudiced." He turns to the defense attorney. "Continue your cross-examination." The defense attorney produces a statistical report. "Officer, are you aware that 78% of your drug arrests in the past 3 years involved Black and Latino suspects, despite them comprising only 23% of our district's population?" Sarah Miller rises again. "Objection!" "These statistics aren't in evidence and haven't been authenticated." "We submitted them during discovery," the defense counters. Thompson examines the report. "I'll allow the question. Officer Reeves, please answer." Reeves's face flushes. "I go where the crime is." "So you deny any bias in your arrest patterns?" "I arrest criminals, period. If certain groups commit more crimes..." The gallery erupts in murmurs. The defendant's mother covers her mouth in shock. Thompson's gavel comes down with a sharp crack that silences the room. The courtroom falls silent after Thompson's warning. Reeves's expression hardens as he meets the judge's gaze. The air feels electric, charged with unspoken tension. "To clarify my statement," Reeves says stiffly, "I enforce the law equally regardless of race." Thompson studies him. "Then you should have no objection to the defense examining your arrest record for patterns." "My record speaks for itself," Reeves responds. "Highest conviction rate in the department." "Convictions based on evidence obtained through proper procedure," Thompson clarifies. "Which brings us back to the equipment failures during this arrest." The defense attorney produces another document. "Your Honor, We've compiled instances where Officer Reeves reported equipment malfunctions during arrests. 87% involved minority suspects. Reeves stands abruptly. This is character assassination. Sit down, officer, Thompson orders. You're allowing them to twist statistics to fit their narrative, Reeves protests, remaining on his feet. His hands clench into fists at his sides. Thompson's voice remains measured but firm. I'm allowing relevant evidence to be presented. Final warning, officer. Sit down. Reeves reluctantly complies, but his body language radiates defiance. His chair scrapes loudly against the floor. Defense may continue, Thompson says. Officer, in this specific arrest, you searched the defendant's vehicle before mentioning the alleged broken taillight, correct? That's not how it happened. The defense attorney signals to an assistant, who sets up a small screen. Your Honor, with permission, we'd like to play a video. The screen shows a partial video from a nearby business camera. Though distant, it clearly shows Reeves searching the car first, then writing a citation afterward. Objection, Sarah Miller calls out. This video wasn't provided during discovery. Because the police department claimed no video existed, the defense counters, we obtained this independently last week. Thompson reviews the timestamp on the video. Miss Miller, was the prosecution aware of this footage? Miller hesitates. No, Your Honor. Thompson turns to Reeves. Officer, you testified under oath that the traffic violation prompted the search. This video suggests otherwise. Reeves glares at Thompson. With all due respect, Your Honor, a distant security camera doesn't show the full context. What context would justify contradicting your sworn testimony? Thompson asks. The defendant leans forward, eyes wide with hope and disbelief. Reeves stands again, finger pointing at Thompson. You've been gunning for me since I walked in. Officer Reeves! Thompson's voice cuts through the courtroom like a blade. You are in contempt. Reeves doesn't back down. This whole trial is a setup. You were planning this ambush from the moment you pretended to be some nobody at the defense table. I never pretended to be anything, Thompson responds evenly. You made assumptions based on what you saw. You deliberately misled me. By what? Being black in a courthouse? Thompson's calm finally cracks slightly. Bailiff, remove Officer Reeves from my courtroom. As the bailiff approaches, Sarah Miller stands. Your Honor, request for a brief recess. Granted. 15 minutes. Thompson rises. Officer Reeves, in my chambers. Now. Inside the chambers, Reeves paces like a caged animal. His face flushes deep red, tie loosened, a vein pulsing at his temple. Thompson sits behind his desk, collected and composed. You've compromised this entire case, Thompson says. Me? You set me up for public humiliation. Thompson opens a folder. James Reeves, 20 years on the force, 16 excessive force complaints, all dismissed. 92% of your drug arrests involve minorities. 43% of your evidence submissions had documentation issues. He looks up. Did I miss anything? Reeves stops pacing. Where did you get that information? I've had it for weeks, Thompson reveals. I'm not just a recently transferred judge, officer. I chair the Judicial Oversight Committee on Discriminatory Policing Practices. Your name has come up repeatedly. The color drains from Reeves's face. This is a witch hunt. No, this is accountability. Thompson stands, removing his glasses. Today wasn't planned. I regularly observe courtroom dynamics before sessions. Your behavior merely confirmed what your record suggested. A knock at the door interrupts them. The bailiff enters with Chief Judge Foster and Police Commissioner Davis. Judge Thompson, Foster says. Commissioner Davis arrived after hearing about this morning's incident. Commissioner Davis, a stern woman in her 60s with salt and pepper hair and a crisp uniform, gives Reeves a disappointed look. Officer, you're suspended pending investigation. On what grounds? Reeves demands. Assaulting a judge, for starters, Davis responds. Plus potentially falsifying testimony and evidence tampering based on today's revelations. You can't do this, Reeves protests. 20 years of service. Makes it worse, Davis interrupts. You should know better. She turns to Thompson. Judge, we've initiated a comprehensive review of all Officer Reeves's active cases and past convictions. Thompson nods. The Oversight Committee will cooperate fully. We'll also examine the supervision chain that allowed this pattern to continue unchecked. This goes beyond one officer, Foster adds. We're looking at departmental training and accountability measures. Reeves looks between them, realization dawning. You're using me as a scapegoat for systemic issues. No, Thompson replies. You're facing consequences for your specific actions. The system that enabled you will face its own reckoning. He turns to the commissioner. This morning, Officer Reeves physically assaulted me in open court, used racial intimidation tactics, and attempted to humiliate me publicly. I want formal charges filed. Davis nods. Already in process, Your Honor. Reeves laughs bitterly. So that's it? 20 years down the drain because you got your feelings hurt? No, Thompson says. 20 years down the drain because you abused your authority consistently and believed you'd never face consequences. Today, that ends. Commissioner Davis steps forward. Officer Reeves, surrender your badge and service weapon to the duty officer downstairs. Report to Internal Affairs tomorrow at 9 a.m. Reeves's shoulders slump, defeat finally registering. My union rep has been notified, Davis says. I suggest you call your attorney. As they return to the courtroom, Reeves whispers to Thompson, You have no idea who you're messing with. News of the courthouse confrontation spreads with digital wildfire speed. By afternoon, courthouse security footage has leaked online, showing Reeves shoving Thompson to his knees. The hashtag Judge Neal trends nationally. Cable news runs the clip on hourly rotation. In an emergency session, the police union executives meet to discuss damage control. The conference room feels too warm, tensions running high as 7 representatives debate strategy. We need to distance ourselves from Reeves, Union President Taylor argues, tossing his pen onto the table. This video is indefensible. Vice President Harding disagrees. Abandoning our members sets a dangerous precedent. We stand by our officers. The man forced a judge to kneel and slapped him, Taylor counters, voice rising. On camera. In a courtroom, there's no spin that makes this acceptable. Then we pivot to mental health, another representative suggests. Job stress, PTSD from his years of service. Taylor shakes his head. The Oversight Committee has his full record. If we try to excuse this as an isolated incident, they'll release everything. Meanwhile, District Attorney Sarah Miller faces her own crisis. Defense attorneys flood her office with motions to review any case involving Officer Reeves. Her phone hasn't stopped ringing. She rubs her temples as her deputy delivers more bad news. We're looking at potentially hundreds of tainted convictions, her deputy warns. Many with minority defendants. Miller sighs. Pull every case. Form a review committee. Prioritize anyone currently incarcerated. The press is requesting a statement, her assistant adds, appearing in the doorway. Tell them we're conducting a thorough review and are committed to justice, Miller replies. And get me the Morris file from today. We need to drop those charges immediately. Across town, Judge Thompson meets with the full Judicial Oversight Committee. 12 judges from various districts review the morning's events. Large windows offer a view of the city skyline as rain begins to fall. What happened to you is appalling, Judge Garcia says, adjusting her glasses. But it's given us unprecedented leverage for reform. Thompson nods. I want systematic changes, not just one officer's badge. The police commissioner has agreed to independent review of their training protocols, Judge Reynolds adds. And City Council is discussing mandatory body cameras with automatic upload to court servers. What about the mayor? Thompson asks. Without executive support, these reforms will stall. She called me personally, Chief Judge Foster says. The video has rattled her. She's facing pressure from community leaders. She'll back us. At police headquarters, Commissioner Davis addresses a room of precinct captains. The atmosphere is tense, faces grim as they absorb the implications. Officer Reeves didn't develop these attitudes in a vacuum, she says firmly. Every supervisor who ignored red flags is under review. Every partner who witnessed misconduct and stayed silent will be questioned. Captain Bennett speaks up. Commissioner, with respect, one incident shouldn't tarnish the entire department. This isn't about one incident, Davis corrects him. The Oversight Committee has identified statistical anomalies in arrest patterns across multiple precincts. Judge Thompson's experience merely put a face to the data. She projects a series of graphs on the screen. These show disproportionate force used against minorities, search rates, citation rates. The pattern is undeniable. In his home, Officer Reeves receives visitors' fellow officers offering support, but fewer than he expected. His phone rings constantly with calls from reporters. His union representative advises silence. The living room television plays the footage on mute, his own actions replayed in an endless loop. When his former partner, Officer Wilson, arrives, Reeves finally vents his frustration. They're making me the fall guy for standard procedure, he complains, pouring himself another drink. Like you never profiled a suspect. Wilson shifts uncomfortably. Look, James, I came to tell you interviewed me today. They asked about the Martinez arrest last year. So, we did everything by the book. We both know that's not true, Wilson says quietly. And I've got a family, a pension. Reeves stares in disbelief. You're throwing me under the bus? I'm not going down with you. Wilson heads for the door. And neither are the others. The next morning, Thompson presides over a different courtroom, a special hearing on the Morris case. Sunlight streams through tall windows, illuminating dust particles in the air. The gallery is packed with reporters and community members. In light of evidence suggesting improper search procedures and potentially falsified testimony, the charges against Mr. Morris are dismissed, Thompson announces. Morris, a young black man who sat silently throughout the proceedings, weeps as his attorney explains he won't be going to prison. His mother embraces him, tears streaming down her face. Furthermore, Thompson continues, I am ordering a review of all cases involving Officer Reeves where similar search procedures were employed. Outside, the courthouse steps teem with reporters as Thompson exits. He's avoided media until now, but recognizes the opportunity to shape the narrative. Judge Thompson, will you pursue personal charges against Officer Reeves? Thompson approaches the microphones. This isn't about me or Officer Reeves. It's about equal justice under law. The system failed not just in this case, but in hundreds of others we're now reviewing. Real reform means changing procedures, not just punishing individuals. A reporter shouts, "But do you forgive him for what he did to you?" Forgiveness isn't the point, Thompson replies. Accountability is. And not just for one officer, but for a system that allowed these abuses to continue unchecked for years. The next week brings rapid changes. Police headquarters announces new training protocols. The mayor creates a civilian oversight board with actual enforcement power. Body camera malfunctions suddenly drop to near zero as officers realize they're being monitored. Defense attorneys report that prosecutors are more willing to dismiss cases with questionable evidence. Judges question police testimony more rigorously. Small shifts, but meaningful ones. In community meetings across the city, citizens cautiously express hope. A black pastor at a town hall meeting stands to speak. We've heard promises before, he says, but this time feels different. This time someone with power experienced what our community has faced for generations. As Thompson finishes a press conference, his phone buzzes with alerts. 3 federal judges want similar oversight committees. 1 week later, Officer Reeves sits before the police disciplinary board, his once crisp uniform now seeming to hang loose on his frame. Dark circles ring his eyes. His attorney looks grim. The hearing room feels airless despite its high ceilings and wood-paneled walls. Commissioner Davis presides over the hearing, flanked by 4 senior officers and a civilian representative. Officer Reeves, you face charges of assault, evidence tampering, perjury, and civil rights violations. How do you plead? Not guilty, Reeves responds, voice hollow. Evidence will be presented by Internal Affairs Captain Hernandez, Davis announces. Captain Hernandez approaches with digital tablet in hand. She projects statistical analyses of Reeves' arrest patterns, body camera malfunctions, and use of force incidents onto the large screen. In the past 5 years, Hernandez states, Officer Reeves' arrests of minority suspects were 4.3 times more likely to involve force than his arrests of white suspects. His evidence submissions in minority cases were 3.7 times more likely to have procedural irregularities. Reeves' attorney objects. These statistics lack context. My client worked predominantly in high crime areas. Even controlling for neighborhood demographics and crime rates, Hernandez counters, the disparities remain statistically significant. The board views footage from courthouse security cameras showing the confrontation with Judge Thompson. Reeves looks away during playback, jaw clenched tight. When called to testify, Reeves attempts to justify his actions. I saw someone I didn't recognize at the defense table. In today's security environment, I acted on instinct to protect the court. Commissioner Davis leans forward. By slapping him and forcing him to kneel? I perceived potential resistance, Reeves insists. From a man in a suit organizing papers? Things escalated quickly, Reeves admits, but there was no racial motivation. Davis consults her notes. Yet you referred to Judge Thompson as buddy and friend in a condescending manner, made him kneel, and later testified that certain groups commit more crimes. Is that correct? Reeves falls silent, unable to deny the recorded evidence. His attorney changes tactics. My client has an exemplary arrest record. 20 years of getting dangerous criminals off the streets. At what cost? Davis asks. We've identified 63 cases so far where evidence may have been improperly obtained or misrepresented. 17 people are being released from prison pending review. The hearing continues for hours. The room grows stuffy. Water pitchers empty and are refilled. Finally, the board deliberates while Reeves waits outside, staring at the floor, ignoring questions from passing officers. When recalled, he stands stiffly as Commissioner Davis delivers their decision. Officer James Reeves, this board finds overwhelming evidence of misconduct, bias, and abuse of authority. Your employment with the department is terminated, effective immediately. Your pension is revoked. Criminal charges will proceed through the district attorney's office. Reeves's face remains expressionless. I served this city for 20 years. No, Davis corrects him. You served yourself while wearing our badge. Turn in your gun and shield before leaving the building. As Reeves exits police headquarters for the last time, reporters surround him. Camera flashes blind him momentarily. Microphones thrust toward his face. Former colleagues watch from windows above, their expressions varying from disgust to pity. Inside, a rookie officer turns to his sergeant. Is this really fair? One mistake and his whole career is erased? The sergeant shakes her head. This wasn't one mistake. This was the one time he got caught. Outside, a hand touches Reeves's shoulder. It belongs to a man he arrested 3 years ago, now exonerated. 3 months later, Judge Thompson addresses the National Conference of State Courts. Hundreds of judges, law enforcement officials, and legislators fill the auditorium. Soft lighting and the occasional camera flash punctuate the serious atmosphere. The Reeves incident wasn't just about one officer, Thompson begins, his voice carrying clearly through perfect acoustics. It exposed fault lines throughout our justice system. Today, I'm pleased to announce significant reforms implemented in its wake. He clicks to the first slide. Statistics and implementation dates appear in clean, authoritative graphics. Mandatory body cameras with tamper-proof technology, statistical analysis of arrest patterns to identify potential bias, civilian oversight boards with actual authority, revised training protocols emphasizing de-escalation and cultural awareness. He pauses, allowing the information to sink in. In just 90 days, excessive force complaints in our district have dropped 42%, Thompson reports. Conviction rates remain stable, proving we can have effective policing without discrimination. In the audience, Commissioner Davis nods in approval. Next to her sits Sarah Miller, recently appointed to lead a new civil rights division within the district attorney's office. Thompson acknowledges them both. These reforms succeeded because leadership across multiple agencies committed to change. No more silos, no more protecting our own at the expense of justice. At Police Academy graduation that same week, a new class of officers takes a revised oath that explicitly includes equal treatment regardless of race, gender, or economic status. Commissioner Davis shakes each graduate's hand. "You're entering law enforcement at a pivotal moment," she tells them. "Old ways are changing. Your generation will determine whether those changes last." The training curriculum now includes sessions taught by former inmates exonerated through evidence review, sharing first-hand experiences of biased policing. Some veteran officers initially resisted these changes, but after seeing improved community relations and cooperation, resistance has faded. Body camera footage is now automatically uploaded to secure servers accessible by both prosecution and defense. Officers cannot review footage before filing reports. Malfunction rates have mysteriously plummeted to near zero. At the courthouse, Judge Thompson's chambers are always open to new judges seeking guidance. The civilian walkthrough he practiced on that fateful day has become standard procedure for all judges in the district, experiencing the courthouse as ordinary citizens do before donning their robes. Most significantly, case review has led to 97 overturned convictions so far, with dozens more under examination. The city has established a compensation fund for those wrongfully incarcerated. Not everyone embraces these changes. A vocal minority of officers resigned rather than adapt. Some judges resist the new accountability measures, but public support remains strong, especially in communities previously distrustful of law enforcement. At a community center in a predominantly black neighborhood, officers and residents gather for a town hall meeting. Tensions are evident, but the dialogue is respectful. A pathway to trust is slowly being built. As Thompson leaves the conference, his phone buzzes. The governor wants statewide implementation immediately. 1 year later, Judge William Thompson sits in his chambers reviewing case files. Late afternoon sunlight slants through Venetian blinds, casting striped shadows across his desk. A knock at the door interrupts his concentration. "Come in," he calls. Morris enters the young man whose case was dismissed after the Reeves incident. He's dressed in a well-fitted suit, a law school textbook under his arm. "Your Honor, thank you for seeing me," Morris says. Thompson smiles. "Mr. Morris, how are your studies progressing?" "Challenging but rewarding." Morris takes the offered seat. "I never thought I'd be preparing for law school instead of serving time." "Your experience gives you a perspective many lawyers lack," Thompson observes. "You'll be an asset to the profession." Morris nods. "That's actually why I'm here. I'm writing a paper on systemic reform, and I wanted to get your perspective on what's changed in the past year." Thompson considers the question. The statistics show improvement. Arrests are down, but so is crime. Community cooperation has increased, but numbers only tell part of the story. And the rest? "The culture is shifting," Thompson explains. I see it in courtroom interactions, in police testimony, in how defendants are treated. There's more awareness of implicit bias, more willingness to question established practices. Do you think it will last? Morris asks. Reform is never finished, Thompson says. It requires constant vigilance. The moment we declare victory is when old habits return. The conversation shifts to Morris's future plans, criminal defense work focusing on cases like his own. Before leaving, he hesitates at the door. Judge Thompson, may I ask you something personal? Thompson nods. That day with Reeves, how did you stay so calm? Thompson's expression grows thoughtful. I've faced discrimination my entire life. As a law student, as a prosecutor, even as a judge, you develop strategies to maintain dignity. But weren't you angry? Furious, Thompson admits, but displaying that anger would have given him power over me and undermined what needed to happen next, which was systematic change, not just personal vindication. Thompson stands, extending his hand. The goal was never to punish one officer, but to transform a system. After Morris leaves, Thompson walks to his courtroom for afternoon session. He passes Sarah Miller in the hallway, now a respected advocate for reform. Big case this afternoon, she asks. Just routine matters, Thompson replies. But every case matters to someone. In the courtroom, Thompson observes the subtle changes of the past year. The diverse faces among attorneys and court staff, the respectful interactions between officers and defendants, the careful attention to procedure and evidence, small shifts that collectively represent meaningful progress. As Thompson takes his seat at the bench, he notices a new officer testifying in his first case. The young man appears nervous but prepared, his body camera prominently displayed, his testimony precise and unbiased. Justice isn't just about punishing wrongdoing, Thompson thinks to himself. It's about creating systems where right action becomes the natural choice. A month later, Thompson sits on a panel discussing police reform at a national law enforcement conference. The audience includes officers, judges, and community activists from across the country. Cameras live stream the event to thousands of viewers online. The most important lesson from our experience, Thompson explains, leaning toward the microphone, is that meaningful change requires participation from every level of the justice system. Police, prosecutors, judges, and communities must work together. An officer in the audience raises his hand. But how do you convince veteran officers to embrace new approaches after decades of doing things differently? By showing them that better policing isn't just more ethical, it's more effective, Thompson responds. When communities trust law enforcement, they report crimes, cooperate with investigations, and serve willingly on juries. A prosecutor asks about resistance within her office. Some of my colleagues see these reforms as soft on crime. How do I counter that narrative? With data, Thompson says. Our conviction rates for violent crimes have actually increased because our evidence gathering is more thorough and transparent. Cases aren't being dismissed due to procedural irregularities. After the panel, Thompson meets privately with judges from 5 other states interested in implementing similar reforms. They discuss practical steps, potential obstacles, and strategies for building support. The hardest part, Thompson advises, is acknowledging that problems exist. Once you accept that perfect systems don't exist, only improving ones, progress becomes possible. In the corridor afterward, Thompson encounters a young black officer who approaches hesitantly. Judge Thompson? I just wanted to say thank you. I joined the force to make a difference, but some of the things I saw during training troubled me. Your reforms have made it possible for officers like me to serve with integrity. Thompson shakes the officer's hand. The system changes one person at a time. Keep holding yourself and your colleagues to high standards. As Thompson prepares to leave, a journalist stops him for one final question. After everything you experienced, What would you tell people who witness injustice but feel powerless to address it? Thompson considers the question carefully. Document what you see. Speak truth to power when you can. Connect with others working for change. Most importantly, don't accept that this is just how things are. Systems are created by people and can be reformed by people. That's all for today's story. If you found this tale of justice and accountability powerful, make sure to hit that like button right now. Your support helps stories like these reach more viewers. Want to see more true stories of accountability, justice, and people standing up to power? Subscribe to the Beat Stories channel and tap the notification bell. We post new stories every week that will leave you shocked, inspired, and empowered. What would you have done in Judge Thompson's situation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Remember, when power meets justice, the outcome depends on brave individuals willing to stand their ground. See you in the next Beat Story.
What happened today isn't just a story. It's a reminder. Silence protects systems, but courage rewrites them. At Beat Stories, we don't just watch change, we document it. Subscribe for more real stories that challenge power and amplify truth.